Hi guys, I'm Dominique, and as you all may know, I'm a travel influencer. So if you saw one of my previous videos, you saw that I had recently moved to Jamaica. Well, I didn't technically move. I stayed there for about 3 months. So I'm just going to share some tips if you live in the US and you want to migrate to Jamaica or just stay there for a couple of months. I'm going to share some tips from my personal experience, so stay tuned for the video. Okay, so a little bit of information about me is I live in Miami, Florida. I was born and raised in the US, but my dad is Jamaican. He's from an area called Falmouth in Jamaica, specifically Trelawney, which is like technically the city if I'm not mistaken. So he's from there, but I didn't start traveling to Jamaica until 2017 or 18 if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, just traveling there, like coming back and forth from Miami to Jamaica, I really love like the experience there, the culture there, everything, even though I was like technically raised Jamaican. And you guys, if you know Jamaicans, you know Jamaicans bring their culture everywhere they go. I mean, the experience of Jamaicans is different from them being in the US and them actually being in Jamaica. The experience, the culture is completely different. And I always said to myself, like, okay, I can see myself moving here like when I get older, or like living here for a while. So it was just like out on a whim, like sometime last year. I kept saying to myself, like, okay, I'm gonna do it. Once I pay this bill, I'm gonna go ahead and do it, stay there for a couple of months. Okay, no, once I pay this, I'm gonna, like, I kept saying that to myself and I felt like I was stalling, but after a while I just did it one night. Like one night I was just over everything. So I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna book the ticket. Once I book this plane ticket, like, it's a wrap. There's no turning back. You cannot get your money back. Once I booked the plane ticket and once I found a place to stay, that's when I knew it was real. Like, as far as my tip number one, I saw a lot of people asking me, if you follow me on social media, a lot of people were asking me in my comments, like, did you save a certain amount of money and blah blah blah. So for me, like, I already had money saved, but like I said, I just kept making excuses, like, okay, I'm gonna pay this bill. When I pay this bill, I'm gonna go ahead and do it. Well, when I pay this bill, I'm gonna go ahead and do it. After a while, I just said forget it, and I was like, okay, we're just gonna book this plane ticket, whatever. So like I said, one night, one like random night when I was over everything, that's when I booked the plane ticket and like found somewhere to stay. As far as finding somewhere to stay, so I reached out to a person called Team Yachty, and he's like a real estate agent, and he posts like a bunch of different apartments around Jamaica. He doesn't do month to month, but he does like 1 year lease. He would send me like little properties that he had for rent, whatever. But you know, as a US citizen, you can only stay in Jamaica specifically for about 3 months on your American passport. So I'm still waiting to get my Jamaica passport, but you can only stay in Jamaica for about 3 months. And I needed a place to stay for like 3 months. So he referred me. He was like, okay, well, just look on Airbnb rentals. You know, Airbnb, they have apartments that you can rent out for, you know, like month to month pretty much. So the apartment I found, it was about $1,300 a month if I'm not mistaken. It was a 1-bedroom apartment, and it was in the uptown area of Kingston. So if you're not familiar with uptown is like, okay, if you live in Miami like me, you know how we have like our downtown area, like Brickell and all of that. That is basically considered like uptown in Jamaica. So it's like their downtown area, even though it's confusing, but even though they call downtown like the ghetto and uptown is like the higher class, nicer area, I stayed in uptown, which is technically considered, if you live in the US, which is technically considered downtown because it's like nicer. It has like nice high-rise apartments and etc. So yeah, I found that apartment for about $1,300 a month if I'm not mistaken. So like I said, I didn't save any money. Like, I already had money saved, so I didn't say to myself like, oh, I'm gonna save like 10,000 so I can go to Jamaica for 3 months. Like, no, I already had money saved. So after a while, like I said, I just ended up booking my ticket. I booked my place to stay. I stayed there for 3 months. And it's a great area. I love staying in uptown, but I like I always tell people, I like partying in downtown because the parties downtown Kingston, so much fun. But I like uptown. Uptown is very quiet. If you're familiar with Emancipation Park, I stay close to Emancipation Park. The only thing with living in uptown though, uptown is very pricey. So thank goodness, like, I had people in Jamaica already that would take me downtown, that would go with me downtown to like get everything I needed for a cheaper price. So that's how much I paid for my apartment before I got there. Like I said, you can reach out to Team Yachty. I'll link his page right here so you can see and you can reach out to him. But me personally, I used Airbnb rentals, like monthly rentals, because It came with, you know, everything was paid for, the lights, the water. I didn't really have to worry about everything other than basically paying the rent every month. So that's why I personally liked using the Airbnb rentals, because if you rent something for the year, you're gonna have to pay for lights, water, internet. Yeah, and the apartment I had to, it came with internet. Like everything was included. So to me, that was a good price for everything included. But like I said, if you rent like something, if you lease something for a year in Jamaica, you're gonna have to worry about lights, internet, water. And two, they make you purchase your own appliances. So like your refrigerator, your stove, like your microwave. Very different from the US. You know, when you're in the US and you know, a lot of the, well, all the apartments, they come with appliances. No, you have to look for that stuff on your own. So yeah, if you're interested in moving to Jamaica, that's just my personal preference. Like, if you can afford it, get like the Airbnb rentals where you can rent that like month to month if it's in your budget, because that's just less stuff you have to worry about. So yeah, that's my tip number one as far as looking for somewhere to stay. Another thing that I did was I did rent a car. So okay, I have like family in Jamaica, but while I was there, like the whole time I was there, I had like 2 people that I can count on while I was there. So, you know, they had my back the whole time I was there. So I went through one of them to get like a rental car, not from the rental car place like Enterprise or Hertz or any of that. I went through like somebody in the community. So that was like a lot cheaper. I paid maybe, let's see, every time I rented the car, I was saying like every month I probably was paying like somebody's car payment, pretty much somebody's car payment in the US. If I'm not mistaken, I can't remember anything, but I can't remember the exact price, but I'm just gonna say I paid like a little over $300, plus there was, I think it was like $100 deposit that he charged me that you get back after you return the car. But I didn't pay like a lot compared to if I were to go to Enterprise or Hertz or Budget to rent a car, like, and you know you would have to pay for insurance and all that stuff. So that ended up working out for me because I needed a car to, like, you know, get around and do like a lot of the stuff that I wanted to do. Because if I were to hire a driver, or, you know, if I were to rent a car through like a rental car agency, that was gonna cost a lot. So like that saved me a lot of money doing that. I do not like driving in Jamaica. Driving in Jamaica is very different compared to driving in the US. Like, it's crazy. Plus they drive on the, I think they drive on the left, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, driving in the US compared to Jamaica, very different, especially in Kingston. Kingston driving scares the hell out of me, between the taxi drivers, between the buses. They scare the hell out of me. So I do not drive in Jamaica. I did not drive in Jamaica. The only time I drove in Jamaica, I think I drove twice, and that was on the highway. But once we got like close to Kingston, I'm like, okay, you can get in the driver's seat so you can drive in Kingston, because I do not drive in Kingston. But I mean, if you don't know anybody there, if you don't have family up there like I did, honestly, hiring a driver is the best thing, especially if you're not comfortable with driving on the opposite side of the road, or if you've never driven in Jamaica before. I wouldn't advise you to like go up there and be like, okay, I'm gonna drive in Jamaica, especially if you've never driven up there and if you aren't familiar with certain areas. Do not drive in Jamaica, please. Me a beg uno. Do not do it. Another thing is, I saw people asking me, did I make friends, and, you know, did I meet people? So me, I'm such an introvert. Like, even when I'm home, I don't go anywhere. Like, the only time I go places is when I travel. So being in Jamaica, like, I'm gonna say I went out, but I went out with like family. So I really didn't get the chance to like meet people and like venture out on my own like that. Like, there were a couple of travel influencers or influencers up there that I wanted to link up with, but I didn't get the chance to link up with because, you know, everyone has like their own personal lives and everyone has their own schedules. But previously I did meet up with the influencer up there. She was so cool. Her name is Travel with Tony Ann. So be sure to check her out because she covers like all things Jamaica. But other than that, like, I didn't get out much. Not to say I didn't get out much, but I didn't like get out much by myself. So it's like, you know, when you're by yourself, it's like, you know, you're more approachable and it's easier for you to do stuff or whatever. But I didn't get out by myself, so I really didn't get a chance to, like, you know, meet people like that. Now, once I was posting all of my Jamaica videos up there in Jamaica, like, people started coming up to me like, hey, I know you from TikTok. I seen you on TikTok. Like, that's the closest I've got to meeting like people that I didn't know. But other than that, like, I didn't meet anybody. A lot of people aren't gonna have like the same experience that I had as far as like having family up there. At least have you like a friend or something. Make sure you scope out this person like very good, because people will take advantage of you or try to take advantage of you. So make sure you scope out this person really good. You know this person, you trust this person. It's always good to have a local like on hand and there with you, because for cheaper prices, for one. For two, so you can know where to go and where not to go in Jamaica. Because even though some places that I went to, and I saw you guys in my comments like, oh my God, like you went there. I only went there with my family, you guys. So if my family says, oh, we're going here, we're gonna be good. Like, for example, I went to Augusttown. I went to an area called Augusttown. People were so surprised. Listen, I'm not going these places. I'm not going to these places by myself. I'm going with my family. They have friends there. They have family there, whatever. I'm not going to these places by myself. Even when I was in Spanish Town, people was like, oh, Spanish Town is so dangerous. I promise, the area I went to, it was cool, calm, collective. Like you just have to know where you're going. And be sure you know the person who you're going with. Like, don't just meet a random person and say, hey, can you take me around Jamaica, blah, blah. Like, no, make sure you scope out that person. And yeah, but lucky for me, I had family there, so like I was good. But that's just another tip. Another thing is, people were asking me like, how much do I think I spent a month living in Jamaica? So I really don't know. I did not budget calculate everything, but I'm gonna say like on groceries. Okay, this is what I did when I was in Jamaica. I went to parties sometimes. I went to rivers, bought groceries. Most of the time, like, I cooked or my family cooked, so I didn't really have to worry about food. But I cooked, my family cooked, and we got boxed food. I'm not even gonna say I cooked. I probably cooked like 2 times when I was there. And I made breakfast. I like making like my little scrambled eggs or my fried egg with plantain. I either have food cooked, or I brought boxed food, or my family cooked. I would say I went to Carnation Market, which is like a popular market in Kingston. I'm gonna say it's like America's farmers market, but it's way more hectic than our farmers market for sure. I spent maybe, I'm gonna say maybe like a little over $100 every time I went to the market, because I would just get like the basic things. I would get like fish, chicken, I would get like yam, banana, like fruits, tomato, pear, like scallion thyme. I would just get like the basic stuff to cook like the basic Jamaican dishes, like rice, eggs. I would get that stuff. So I didn't spend like that much compared to, you know, US prices, because the currency in Jamaica is lower when it's converted to US dollars. So I didn't spend like much when I was grocery shopping. As far as box food, I didn't spend much on box food either, because I would go downtown to get my box food. So I didn't spend much when it came to purchasing box food. So the only thing that had me in a chokehold was KFC and Juicy Beef. Those 2 places had me in a chokehold. Like, and KFC in Jamaica is expensive. It's very expensive. I get the 3-piece with champagne cola, and I either get the spicy and the barbecue, or I just get the spicy. I think that's like 1,500 Jamaican dollars, which is equivalent to like, I'm gonna say maybe like $9–10, I think, in US. But between that and between my cheese patty with my cocoa bread and my box of juice, man, I spent so much money on KFC and Juicy Beef, like it's crazy. As far as activities, this is another thing. I love going to the rivers, like the local rivers. A lot of the local rivers in Jamaica, they are starting to charge. So please keep that in mind. Like, they would charge, I'm gonna say between 100 and 500 Jamaican dollars, which is like maybe like $1, $2, $3, depending on where you go and how much they charge you. But please go to the local rivers, like just to have that experience. I love going to the rivers. I went to Reggae Falls, I went to Salt River, and oh, and I went to turtle something, I can't, somewhere in Portland. But I love going to the rivers. So that's another thing you can do. Rivers and parties. A lot of the parties that I went to were in downtown, which is like considered the hood areas in Jamaica. I went to parties downtown, and I went to parties in Spanish Town. I love both environments. Like the parties downtown and downtown Kingston, I love it. And for those who don't know, like, Jamaica time is very different. So you know how like in the US, if we go into a club or something like that, we're gonna say, okay, we're gonna leave the house like 10–11 o'clock so we can get there, blah blah blah. And nah, yeah, so parties in Jamaica don't start until maybe like 12, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. So the time that people are like coming back home in the US from the clubs, or even though sometimes, you know, we come back 4 or 5 in the morning, by the time we're coming back home from the clubs, Jamaica parties and all that, they just getting started. Like, this is my routine. If I was going to a party that night, I had to take a nap first, maybe like 9–10 o'clock, take a nap, set my alarm, wake up at about 12, 1 o'clock, get ready, and I would be back home. The latest I stayed at a party was until like 6 in the morning. That was the party I went to a Spanish town, like the sun was coming up. That was the most fun I ever had. Overall, like, I loved staying in Jamaica. I would definitely do that again. There were a few times that I was staying up there. I'm gonna say like 2 times. 2 times I was so sad because I'm like, I don't have my family up here. I don't have my friends up here. And I'm basically here by myself and blah, blah, blah. Even though I technically like wasn't there by myself, but even still, like, it's just sad, like, you're away from your family. I have not been away from my family for that long, so it was definitely a different experience for me. But I would advise anyone to do that. Like, if you're young and if you don't have kids especially, or if you're not tied down, like, I would advise you to experience that at least once in your life. That was the most fun that I've ever had. That was one of the greatest experiences that I've ever had. I would definitely do it again, and I would do it in another country too. So as far as me, like, I do want to get some land there, or like get a house built there or something like that, because like I said, my father is Jamaican, so I do have Jamaican background. I do have dual citizenship, meaning I have citizenship in the US and in Jamaica. I do have like my TRN and like the Jamaica passport and everything, even though like I'm still waiting to get it, but I applied for it. So in order to like purchase an apartment or something like that in Jamaica, to purchase property in Jamaica, it is a process. Jamaica moves slow. I'm just gonna say that. When it comes to like paperwork, government stuff, Jamaica moves very slow when it comes to like documents, getting you your documents, whatever. That's one thing I did not like about Jamaica. Like, they move slow with a lot of stuff compared to the US, to where it's like so convenient to do a lot of things and to where you can do things online. In Jamaica, you have to go to these places to do stuff. Like, you have to stand in these long lines forever. You have to get this paperwork, that paperwork. That's like one of the only things as far as like living in Jamaica. Like, they move slow when it comes to like important documents and stuff. So that was one thing where I was like, another thing too is, which is something that I always heard, but like I never experienced, thank God, knock on wood. But a lot of people have always said, please don't get sick in Jamaica, because Jamaica hospitals like can be the worst compared to the US. So that's just something I heard. Like I said, never happened to me, never had to go to the hospital in Jamaica, knock on wood, but that's something I personally wouldn't want to experience. But overall, like, Jamaica for me, as far as living, I would love to live there, settle down there, have a family there. Like, I would love to raise my kids there. That's just how much I love being there. I love the natural food, the natural everything, like, compared to being in the US where everything is just like chemicalized. Yeah, take me back to Jamaica, please. But I stayed there for 3 months. I'm currently back in the US, you know, just figuring stuff out, just trying to figure out what I'm going to do next, if I'm going to go back to Jamaica. I am in the process for looking for properties up there, but like I said, that takes forever. So, but overall, I love living there, like I said. So if you have any specific questions, let me know in the comments below. I'll be sure to answer them. And yeah, I hope I answer everybody's questions that were asking me questions on my social media, on my TikTok and Instagram. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. And as always, like and follow for more travel tips. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel, and I'll see you in my next video. Peace.